Well, hey there, my friend. Abby from Abbi Kirsten Collections here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make these super cute DIY Christmas candy holders. Let's go ahead and review the supplies you need for this project. Alright, so let's talk about the supplies we need for these super adorable Christmas candy holders here. First, you're going to need a Cricut machine, of course. You can use any of the full-size machines. The only reason you can't use the Cricut Joy with this is because of the size that it has to be to support our plastic ornament ball that we're using here. And the Cricut Joy machine has a size limitations of about 4 inches wide. So any of the full-size machines, Explorer 3, Maker 3, Original Maker, any of those full-size machines are going to work just fine for this project. So for our craft here, we're going to be using a plastic ornament ball. These are the kind you see at craft stores that have 2 halves that come apart. So we're only going to be using 1 half. You want to use the side that has the ridge that's recessed so that it kind of acts as a bit of a stopper and keeps that candy from coming out. And we'll also go over the design space setup on ways you can minimize any chances of the candy holder popping out on you here. So you'll want those plastic ornament balls. I have resources for these online, but oftentimes craft stores will carry them, especially from like October to January. You can get them on clearance in January, scoop up on them then, and you'll have them for the next year. If you struggle at all with these plastic ornament balls here, I'm also going to show you a trick at the end on how you can use a round Parfait plastic cup and use that as an additional option. You will have to adjust your size slightly for the designs if you decide to go the Parfait cup route. Very cost effective and it gets the job done as well. So I will touch on that as an additional hack at the end in case you don't wish to use the half ornament balls, or maybe you're making these at another time of year and you're struggling to find these. They are sold online all year round. But I'm going to show you both ways just as a special hack at the end for that. I am going to be predominantly featuring the half ornament ball though, because that is my favorite option to use. You will need a Cricut cutting mat, so I recommend either the green mat or the light blue grit mat because we're going to be cutting out cardstock paper here. You may want to have a brayer tool in hand to push the material to the mat. That really helps, especially when you're dealing with cutting cardstock and intricate cut type projects. I will be using a 3D foam strip tape to create some space and dimension to my design here. You can also use the squares or the dots. They make them in different shapes, but I like the strips the best. I'm going to be using a weeding tool to pull the backings, the paper backings off of my foam strip tape. And you may want to have a pair of scissors also to be able to trim down the tape if you need to at all. You're also going to want to have some sort of liquid glue on hand. I love this Barely Art Precision Craft Glue. It works really well for layered paper projects. It dries very well, it dries quickly, and accurately. It doesn't wrinkle the paper or anything like that. So I really like this. You'll want to have some glue on hand. For our cardstock here, you can choose to mix and match glitters or solids. It doesn't really matter. That's your choice. And of course, you can alter the colors a little bit here, however you would like for your designs. I'm going to be using cardstock from the 12 by 12 cardstock shop here and from Cricut themselves. Cricut has glitter cardstock as well, so I'm using that. But all of these really pretty colors right here in the smooth and textured cardstock, that's all from the 12 by 12 cardstock shop. I absolutely love 12 by 12 cardstock shop, and this is an online site that you can buy all of these different shades on. The reason I love their paper so much is because not only is it the perfect weight for these type of projects here, but it cuts beautifully on the Cricut machine. So even when I've dealt with projects that are very intricate in nature, the 12 by 12 cardstock shop's paper always works really well. And they have a wide variety of colors to choose from. So make sure you check them out. I am going to be using some of their paper today. Oh, and lastly, you will also want some candy, of course, to fill up your little guides with here. So I recommend some sort of pre-wrapped candy like Kisses, peanut butter cups, peppermints, those kind of things. So make sure you have some small candies on hand that you can fill up your Christmas candy holders with. All right, let's go ahead and dive into Design Space. All right, so here we are in Cricut Design Space. I'm just going to cover how to upload the file here in Cricut Design Space and just a couple of extra pointers if you should need to resize these. So first things first is you'll need to download these files. So these designs are all created by me, Abbi Kirsten from Abbi Kirsten Collections. You can find them on members.abbikirstencollections.com. That link is below for you. It is a part of my premium membership. There's also additional shop links below if you'd like to buy them individually. That is an option for you as well. In addition to these super cute designs you see here, I also have some Christmas elf designs as well, so you can check those out. That information will be below. But make sure you go and download your templates, these SVG cut files, on members.abbykirstencollections.com. So this over here on the left-hand side is the design panel, and you'll find an upload button over here. And what you'll want to do is just click on that and click on upload image, browse your computer to wherever you saved the SVG file to, and then just click and bring that in here. So here is an example. I'll just bring in one of these. We'll bring in Santa Claus here. I'll click open, and it'll give you a preview, and then you can click on the upload at the bottom corner. It'll drop it under recent uploads where you can select it and then click add to canvas. All right, so there we go. That's how you would bring an image into Design Space. Now I already have my Santa over here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and delete this. There's just a couple things I want you all to know about this as you're working with these candy holders. First, these are scaled to work with the 8-centimeter plastic Christmas ornament balls. I also have an amendment and a trick to use a Parfait dome lid as well, which I will show you at the end of this video. But I want to let you know that when you bring these files in, you're going to see an additional circle with each one of these that is going to come in with the file. This circle here is the exact same size as the circle cutout on each of your candy holders. So if you need to scale to a different size, just make sure you're scaling as a group, the whole thing as a group. So for example, let's say I need to go bigger, I could scale it as a group and then refer to the size here. I'm going to actually look up here you can look up here in the edit bar where it says size. You can refer to the size of the circle to know what the size of the circle will be for your candy holder in here. You do not need to cut this piece though, so you can just delete this or hide it over here in the layers panel once you have sized these. Now if you're using the same ornament balls that I am, you shouldn't need to resize them. You should be good to go. I'm going to undo this real quick. If you are going to use my amendment at the end of this video, which is using the Parfait dome lid, you will need to increase the size just a tiny bit. Now, in general, you will see these import, and the circle will be about 3.125 in height and width. That works with the plastic ornament ball that I recommend, which is linked below for you. If you decide to use the Parfait dome lid instead, you will need to increase the size just a little bit. So I go up to 3.25 for that circle that's going to be in the center here of our little characters. There's just a slight size difference. Now, if you're super good with math and you want to like calculate the exact, decimal difference and size the candy holders that way, you can, or just as I suggest, I would click and drag. Let's say I wanted to make this Santa with the Parfait dome lid and make it slightly bigger instead of the plastic ornament ball, then I would select both of those and I would just scale this up ever so slightly, click off, see where my measurements are. All right, so that's pretty darn close there, and I was able to just do that by just scaling as a group, and then again, you don't have to cut this actual piece there. So that's just an example of how I would scale things in Design Space here if you're using depending on which size plastic dome you're using, whether it be the ornament, half ball, or if you decide to go the Parfait lid route, which I'll show you at the end. Other than that, that's all you need to do. Just make sure you save your project so that you can come back to it whenever you want. You don't have to do any of the other importing or setup at that point in time. And then we can go ahead and click the Make It button and send this to our cut screen to cut this out in cardstock. All right, so our design is loaded up and ready to go in Design Space. I'm gonna go ahead and take my cardstock here. This is the smooth 12 by 12 cardstock shop in red. I really like this one. It's so like buttery smooth. It's really nice. And we're just gonna place it onto our mat here. I recommend using your brayer tool to push the material to the mat. It's very helpful for making sure you're getting a clean cut. Material isn't shifting around on you, especially if your mat has been well used. I'm gonna go ahead and load this underneath the guides here and press that double arrow flashing button in order to load my mat here. Cricut will take a second just to scan the mat to make sure it's the proper length. Once it's scanned, you're going to see that this flashing icon here, this play icon in my case, this is your go button. And it may also look like a Cricut C icon if you have a Maker or an Explorer 2. This just basically is Cricut saying go ahead and press this button to proceed with the cut. So we're going to press that and it's going to start cutting our design out. Okay, so our cut is done. Press the double arrow flashing button to unload your mat here. I'm just going to close this machine up for just a second here, and then I'll proceed with cutting my other layers out. So what we need to do here when we're removing cardstock from our mat, it's best to always flip the mat upside down and focus on peeling the mat away from the cardstock or any material with your Cricut, because it's going to help eliminate the curling. And it's especially important with paper, but it can be important with other materials too. So just a gentle roll of your mat. You don't want to bend it or crease it or break it, but just gently roll the mat away and focus on keeping the paper flat while the mat's doing the rolling and the curling. There we go. You can see our paper is nice and flat, and we're good to go there. Our little Santa got caught. There we go. All right, so this is one of our layers. I'm going to proceed to cut out the other layers for this design as well. This one's a flat cardstock color, but you could also do this in glitter. It's really pretty in glitter. You can mix and match and just create some different textures and looks to your design here. So let's go ahead and cut out our other layers here for this project. Alright, so this is going to be the Santa candy holder here. You'll have these three main layers, and then of course there'll be the details that we'll add on top of him. The very first thing you want to do is you want to get these two layers put together. I'm just going to start first with my precision craft glue here. It's by Barely Art. Yep. And I'm going to go around and just add some glue here. Alright. So there's that, and then we're just going to align these two together here. Give yourself a second to kind of shift it. And once you get that well aligned, give it a good press. You might want to give it 1 to 3 minutes to sort of let that glue grab before you move on to the next step. Alright, so these two layers are good to go. They're glued together, they're holding nicely. Here's our base layer here. And the next step is we want to fill up our candy ball. So I'm just going to grab a small handful, and I do recommend pre-wrapped candies. So don't go and buy like candies that don't have individual wrappings. It's just best practice when you're putting in something like this and there might be glue around or something like that. So that's what I recommend is individually wrapped candies. You could do like Hershey Kisses, like peanut butter cups, or even like peppermint candy, like the little spearmint peppermint candies. And just fill it up with a small handful. Don't overfill it, but make sure there's enough in there. And then go ahead and take this base piece here and place it on top and then flip it, okay? The next step, remember we have these two pieces glued together and we need to place this over the top. So for this part, I am going to be using the foam strips. Now, if you want to take a little bit of glue and go around the edge here just to reinforce that plastic ornament ball, you absolutely can. If you followed the design space setup and the measurements correctly, and you're using the same type of balls and the same size balls I'm using, you shouldn't need to do this. It will hold just fine. So like here's my snowman here. I can hold it by the ball and nothing's falling out. So it should be fine without it, but if you'd like to reinforce it with a little bit of glue by going around the edge here, you most certainly can. So I'm going to go ahead and take my foam strip tape here, and I'm going to start working some of this on. You can use the little foam dots or the foam squares as well. I prefer the foam strip tape because I feel like I can cover more ground quickly. I can trim it down to fit my exact needs much easier. So I prefer the foam strip tape, but you can opt for like the dots or the squares. Another reason I prefer the strips is because when you get to this circle part here, you need to go around the circle, and using the strips allow you to basically mold it around the circle. So I like to use this weeding tool to pull the backs off of our foam strip tape. And knowing that you're a Cricut crafter, you probably have one of these on hand. So it's an easy way to use that tool that you have on hand and make this part a little bit easier, pulling those paper backings off of our strips there. So once you've got that done, it's time to go ahead and combine these two together and give it a nice press down there once you've got that all aligned. All right, there we go. So there is sort of the mechanics of this done, and now we just have to add our Santa details. All right, so here are all our little details, and it's really ultimately up to your preference if you want to use glue for this step, or you want to use some more foam strip tapes, or you want to kind of combine them. I usually combine them, so for like his boots, I think I'll probably be using just glue for the boots and the mittens. And then I think I will use a little bit of foam strip tape for the little decorative fluffy piece of his boot right there, and that'll elevate it a little bit to make it look kind of three-dimensional. Let's go ahead and actually start with the face part, and I'm going to take my precision tip glue, add that on, and line the eyes up together here. That's going to be your guide. All right, so there's Santa's face. And let's add on his beard, bottom of his hat there. Again, I'm going to use glue for this part. Okay. And I'm going to flip this. I'm going to trim down some pieces here of my foam strip tape, and I'm going to add a small one for the little puff at the top there, one right here, and one right here. I'm going to use my weeding tool again to pull off the little paper backs of our sticky tape here. All right, there we have it. Our Santa Christmas candy holder is finished. How cute is that? Super, super cute. I think these are excellent gifts to make for kids, with kids, for coworkers, stocking stuffers. So overall, just a super cute gift, and even something that can be used as a keepsake because we're using that perforation back there that we can peel that away. We don't have to actually destroy or tear apart our cute creation here. We can just open it from the back to access the candy and then still get to enjoy the cute little layered paper craft afterwards. Okay, so one little trick I want to show you with my candy holder designs here. I typically like to use the half ornament plastic balls, but if you struggle with those at all, or maybe you're planning to make a lot of these and you need to be super cost effective, you can also use plastic Parfait lids. So you want to look for the ones that are completely solid on top, and you can use these in place of the plastic ornament balls, and you can buy them in bulk and they're very inexpensive. So here's a look at the Parfait lid one, and it's hard to even tell much of a difference between the two, but they're more cost effective and some people find them easier to work with after I tested some different rounds of this. So plastic Parfait lids, here's what you do. I'll show you my reindeer here. With the Parfait lids, you're going to notice that it has sort of that edging that allows it to snap to the bottom of the Parfait cup, right? So what you want to do is you want to take a pair of scissors, I recommend like some detail scissors, and you want to just cut little snips around the entire Parfait lid, and because Parfait plastic is so thin, it's very easy to do. So go all the way around. Okay, once you've gone all the way around, trimming little slots and slits into the side of your Parfait lid, place it onto your desk and push it down, and it creates a bit of a, sort of it fans the edge out to create a bit of a lip. Some people find that the plastic ornaments can be hard to work with, so with this you can bend out those edges to create a more sealed area like this, okay? So that's our Parfait lid. And if it ends up overhanging in your characters at all, we can always trim this down. We may need to do that in a minute. So let's go ahead and just put together our little reindeer guy here. Start with this piece and my Barely Art precision glue here. All right, so once we've added that glue, we'll take this piece and place it on top of our other piece here. Get it aligned and everything, and the glue does dry clear, so don't worry if you get a little glue on the opposite side, it happens. Okay, just like that. I'm gonna go ahead and glue this on as well. And then I also use this 3D foam strip tape here. So I'm going to use that for his additional features. Alright, so we've got that piece done and we've got our base piece here. So normally we would use one of these little plastic ornament balls, which can still work very well. But with the case of the Parfait lid here, it creates an ability for us to add more of a seal. Now it does overhang here a bit, so I do recommend that you take a moment to sort of trim down a little bit of that edging. You don't have to trim it all off, but just trim the edging down just a tiny bit. Okay. So if you're someone who struggles with getting these on, you can absolutely use a little bit of glue here. I don't generally like using the glue only because you don't really want glue around food. But even if you opt to use the glue, because we're creating a seal that's kind of out and away a little bit more, and it has this recessed ridge here, it basically stops the glue from going inside of like the Parfait lid. So it's more cost effective and it sometimes is a little easier to work with. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my candy. It holds about the same amount of candy as one of the plastic ornament balls. Okay, so we have our candy in there and we can just kind of flip this, shift it there a bit, and because we created that lip there, even if you don't add glue, we can add that 3D foam tape and it's going to hold it in place that much better because we have that lip that's not going to let it lift out, where it can be a little more challenging if you're doing the plastic ornament balls. So let's go ahead and flip this over. And I'm going to take my 3D foam tape here, You could use hot glue, yes, but I try to avoid glue when I'm dealing with elements of food. So while this is probably okay because we have individually wrapped candies here, it can be helpful to possibly, do your best to avoid it. And these Parfait lids allow us to accomplish that. Okay, just like that. And then I'm gonna grab my weeding tool here, pull those little paper backs off there. All right, so I'm gonna place my Parfait lid right back on there and give it a good push all the way around with that tape, that foam strip tape that I used, okay? It's making a nice, good, solid seal there. See that already before we've even added it on? How nice that's sealed. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add our strip tape again here on the back side of our little reindeer. All right, so now we just gotta place this right on top here. Make sure you're pressing really well around that edge here. And if you want to know the exact Parfait cup lids I use, you can find that information below in the video description. So isn't that cool how we were able to use a Parfait plastic lid instead of a plastic ornament ball? There we go. I added my little whites for the eyes of my reindeer here. But there you have it. So a compare and a contrast. Here's the Parfait lid. It works nice. There's a great seal there. No problem at all. And I'm able to accomplish the same effect with the plastic ornament balls, but some folks have expressed that it's more difficult to work with. So the Parfait lids are going to be your best friend in that case. And we still have our perforation on the back here where we can just pop that open to access the candy. So what are your thoughts? Would you use the plastic Parfait lids, or do you prefer the plastic ornament balls, or are you eager to try both? Let me know below in the comments and I'll be happy to help you or answer any questions you have. So I hope you enjoyed our Christmas candy holder tutorial today. You can get all 4 of these Christmas designs as well as my other candy holder designs in the Abbi Kirsten Collections Premium Member Vault. The link is going to be below for you. We have loads of Christmas templates there and other templates for all seasons of the year, but you can grab all of these below. They are super sweet and adorable. I hope you will join us and I can't wait to see you there. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this today. Bye for now, my friend.